Welcome, everyone, to the September Minnesota Safe Routes to School Network Call. I'm your facilitator, Elissa Schiffman. The Minnesota Safe Routes to School Network is hundreds of dedicated professionals from organizations and communities across Minnesota that are building skills, supporting partnerships, and advocating for changes to make sure all students can walk, roll, and bike to school safely across the state. As I said, my name is Elissa Schiffman. I am with Move Minnesota. I'm your facilitator for today. Normally we have Max Singer as our tech wizard, but we've got Teresa Thompson-Nix from the Move Minnesota team jumping into support. If you want to introduce yourself real quick, T-Nix, that'd be great.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Teresa Thompson-Nix, Program Manager with Move Minnesota. I've been at the organization for 6 years, and I'm excited to support today. I've worked on schools initiative over the last couple of years, and I'll be excited to share some of our learnings at a national conference coming up. So we're just really proud to be part of this region and looking forward to learning from you all today.
Thanks, T-Nix. As we move on with our call, would love the rest of you to introduce yourself in the chat. Names, pronouns, where you're calling in from, and today's icebreaker in honor of Back to School Week is a thing you love about back to school season. I am a school supply girly. I love a pen. I love a freshly sharpened pencil. It's like my favorite thing about fall is just like fresh writing utensils, fresh notebooks, all the possibility that the school year contains. So feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat, share something that you love about back to school season. And with that, I am going to toss it over to Kelly for the MNDOT update and stop sharing my screen.
All right, we'll get mine going. Perfect. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for joining the network call. We know it's so busy this time of year, but we've got some really, really great presentations on how you can support your walk and bike and roll to school days kind of across the whole school district and a region. So I'm excited for our presenters, which means I'm going to go really fast. But my first thing I want to do is as you know, our team is growing. Sophie's been here 3 months. So we got another person joining the Safe Routes team, which is Phoebe Ward. She's on day 3, so we're going to go easy on her. But she will be helping support our Safe Routes to School grants and contracts. So supporting kind of invoices, progress reports, and then some other details and work within our Safe Routes program. So Phoebe, are you able to come off mute and just say hello and anything else you'd like to share with the group?
Yes. Hi, I'm Phoebe. I'm calling it out of St. Paul. Really, really excited to be here and working with these grants. And my favorite part of back to school season is the amazing variety of apples that show up at the local farmers market.
Nice. Thanks, Phoebe. We're super excited to have you. So I'm just going to keep cruising along as we want to get to our speakers. So one of the other things that we've started is these office hours. So they're short 30 minutes offered twice a month. And so this is if you have random questions that you want to ask and it's kind of hard to put in email, or you'd rather just talk about it and you don't want to kind of go through hoops of trying to set up a meeting, you can drop into these anytime. We are not planning to have an agenda for these. It's really as people come in, if they have questions, we can support them. I'm sure these will be a little bit more popular as our grants roll out in October. But if you have questions on like how to engage a partner or how to start this work with a new school, how to get a walking school bus going, any of those questions, we're here to help. So please keep those in your calendar or on your mind. And I think Sophie will drop the link of where you can find the login details. It's also in our newsletter, and we'll send it out in the email recap afterwards. We also, MNDOT's kind of consolidating Facebook pages. So we've had a Safe Routes to School Facebook page for many, many years now. This fall, we're going to start closing it down and transition to just using our primary MNDOT page. That won't impact you all too much, other than I know many of your organizations were using some of our materials to kind of share and provide the information out around Safe Routes to School. So we will make sure that those posts are available in other ways that you can download the content and just share it out from your own social media. And we'll keep you posted as that is kind of going forward. The other piece that's really excited is we are partnering with the Minnesota Timberwolves again to have some incentives for your student safety patrollers to get free tickets to go to Timberwolves games throughout their season this year. It also includes the opportunity after the game to go out on the court and actually throw some free throws, which is like a once in a lifetime super cool opportunity for kids. There is an email contact to get the code to be able to purchase those tickets, or if you have questions about making it kind of a larger event, if you're bringing a whole crew of kids, feel free to reach out to Julia. And again, we'll put this in the notes that are sent out next week for Max. But just wanted to get that out there so you can start thinking about how that kind of fits into your work plan for the year. If that's something you want to support or help encourage as a fun incentive. And we will be talking more about this in October. Our whole October network call is about the grant opportunities that are opening in at MNDOT, which is going to include a bunch of non-infrastructure opportunities here, like our planning assistance and boost grants that we manage. Mitch will come on and talk about design assistance. We will have Steve come on and talk about both safe routes and the active transportation infrastructure grant opportunities. And then Will Wislow will also jump on and talk about the active transportation planning assistance to see if, some of the communities you're working for, if that is a better fit for them, or if you want to take your safe routes program to the next level and really focus on safe routes everywhere for kids, that AT planning assistance might be a good fit for your work. So that's the quick updates. I'm going to turn it over to Sophie now to talk a little bit more about the events and resources we have for Walk to School Day, which is coming up October 9th. And Sophie, I'll advance slides for you, so just let me know.
Sounds good. So we have our first event coming up on the 1st October day, Wednesday. A few things for that as you start to plan. First is making sure you register your school for this. As you register, we have links of who that is, and we are sending out packets that have posters, stickers, zipper pulls, translated materials that you can post at your school. So just for more of that promotional material. So if you are registered by the 20th, we will get those to you. For those who have recently registered, we just got our packets down to the mailroom yesterday. So the first round of packets will be going out. So if you get something at your school from us and you're like, what is it? That's what it is if you registered but forgot. The second thing is the Resource Center has everything you need to help plan for this event. So click through that. There's all the things, toolkits, communications, programming, guides, success stories, and so forth. Next one. And here's a couple of toolkits, just examples of what there are. We have updated all of them to look pretty and uniform. So just click through those. And if you have any questions or something doesn't work link-wise, just send us a note and we can update. And then the photo contest. This was New Elm winner last year. So we want to see what you're doing those days. The first Wednesday is always the best. So you can submit it still on Facebook. Our Facebook will be active until the 16th. So we'll be pulling, we'll be sharing, we'll be celebrating with you. After the 16th, if there is something that you said, oh shoot, we forgot to send this to Sophie and Kelly and VP, you can send it to our Safe Routes to School email address, the general one, and we'll get those as well. But we want to see your pictures and your events taking place. Any other, Kelly? Awesome.
Thanks, folks. I will also say, if you're trying to figure out if a school near you has registered, if you go to the walkbiketoschool.org, you can see schools that have registered. So you can nudge your local partners or see that someone already did it, and you don't have to do those nudges. That's a helpful way to track. Otherwise, if you're not finding it there, you can always shoot us an email. I'll drop it in the inbox. We do have this general inbox now. If you're looking for questions more quickly, send it there. And now there's 3 of us kind of tracking that instead of getting buried in my email. And I will turn it back over to Elissa.
Thanks, Kelly, and thanks, Sophie. We have a quick, before we get into the sort of meat of Walk to School Day local examples, which I'm very excited about. We have a quick update from Angela at Bike MN. I see you, Angela.
Hi. Hopefully everything works. I'm up north with a little bit of a stable connection with my
Angela,
buddy. I'm
I'll say
Angela.
you're a little choppy. I would maybe recommend turning your video off. It was nice to see your face, but we'd love to be able to hear what you're saying more
Okay.
clearly.
Let me know if this is better. I'm
Much better.
experiencing some internet situations, so hopefully I can share my screen and that will go well. We'll give that a try. But hi everyone, Angela, Bike and Men. I just wanted to give you a quick update on our, can you all see this okay? Maybe. No,
Yep,
not
see
visible.
it.
Okay, great. I'm really excited to announce that we just in time for the beginning of school, launched 2 new active transportation safety videos that are available on our landing page, which I'll put into the chat. Please enjoy the A+ voice acting talents of yours truly. But these are student-facing videos that teachers can show their students. The K3 video is, I think, 3 minutes, and the 4-8 video is 6 or 7 minutes. They go over all of the basic kind of points of those active transportation mandates. We've also created some companion lesson plans for teachers that go along with these. So when you go on our landing page, those are available for download as well. And I will say this photo that you're looking at right now is actually, I got some kiddos from the bike train formerly headed by our old friend Dave Cowan to be in this video, so you'll get to see some of them. And then the other thing I wanted to just share was that we actually have a busy September and October with our Walk Bike Fun trainings. These all have spots available, so I'll put the event webpage in the chat as well. But Thief River Falls is coming up next. Then we're going to be up at Leech Lake. We're going to be up in Duluth, actually doing a couple of different things. We're going to be launching an adult Learn to Ride program up there. We're going to be doing our Walk Bike Fun training, and I'm speaking at a panel as part of a film fest. We're going to be back down in Kellogg for some maintenance training, and then on October 10th, we're heading to Red Wing. So busy September and October for us. Please, please, please share this information out with your networks. We've got space available in all of these. And I would hate to have to kind of cancel any that don't fill up. So we are available for assistance. If you have questions about how to utilize the active transportation videos or the lesson plans, let me know. And I'd be happy to help. So, and thank you, Jenny. Thank you. That was me. Yep, putting my theater degree to good use. So
Thanks, Angela. Any immediate questions for Angela before we move on? I'm not seeing any in the chat. So if you want to reach out to Angela with any questions, I think your email, Angela, is angela@bikemn.org. I might have it memorized now.
sure is. So I'm putting those 2 pages in the chat. The first one is that landing page with those active transportation videos. They're also up on our YouTube. And then I just put our events page there where you can share the registration links for any of those Walk Bike Fun trainings that I shared.
Awesome. Thanks for being so resourceful for the Minnesota Safe Routes to School Network. We appreciate you and the whole Bike MN team.
Thank you. Here to help.
With that, I am going to transition us into some of our local success stories. So our theme for today, as we sprint towards Walk to School Day, or maybe walk towards Walk to School Day, is engaging the whole school in Walk to School Day. So I'm really excited to welcome Tim, and then after Tim, Carma, to share a little bit about how they approach Walk to School Day and some of their success stories. So with that, I'll toss it to you, Tim. Take it away. Oh, and a reminder to folks, if you have questions as we go throughout things, feel free to put them in the chat, raise your hands to get in the queue at some point. We definitely want to hear from you with any questions or insights that you have as Tim and Carma are sharing about their programs. All right, now I'll really stop talking. To you, Tim.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. For those who haven't met me yet, my name is Tim Brackett. I am the Safe Routes to School coordinator at Richfield Public Schools. If you're not familiar with Richfield, it's an inner ring suburb due south of Minneapolis. We do have some unique challenges in Richfield. Our north, south, and east borders are all major highways. So Richfield is, as most suburbs, is car centric, but especially with the major highways surrounding us. It's really a car centric community with the pollutants that come with that, the culture that comes with that. And so it's a unique situation for me in my role to fight that car culture and try to implement walking and biking strategies. Fortunately, the community is very supportive of active transportation, and that's why they have applied for the funding, and we've been fortunate to secure MNDOT's funding for my position. So having said that, I want to talk a little bit today about what we are doing here in the city of Richfield for Walk to School Day. A little bit of background, we've the coordinator position started in 2020, and so a couple of things that have happened to date for around Walk to School Day include inviting elected officials, especially when we do demonstration projects. We did that last year at Centennial Elementary to introduce our new walking route to get people safely to school from the east end of the city. We've done walking bingo, costume contests have been popular. There have been times where we used Walk to School Day to introduce a walking school bus, and then we've always utilized the MNDOT Safe Routes to School promotional materials as well. Here in Richfield, we have 4 elementary schools, a very unique situation with sort of an east versus west dynamic with I-35 splitting it down the middle. But we do have 2 neighborhood schools. We have Centennial Elementary on the east end of Richfield, and then Sheridan Hills Elementary on the west side of Richfield. So the unique challenges that we see, Centennial is a very high free reduced lunch enrollment, as well as caregivers who are working shift work. Oftentimes students are getting up in the morning and taking care of themselves and then walking, biking, or busing to school without that caregiver support. So very unique situations there at Centennial. Whereas Sheridan Hills is over on the west end, they're sort of in their own pocket of the city, and they have a very small walk zone because of hazard streets. 8% of the students at Sheridan Hills are eligible to walk to school with that small walk zone. Having said that, we've seen some success with these 2 schools. Centennial, and I like this because it's a little more inclusive, they hand out stickers and zipper pulls and promotional materials to anyone who's arriving on campus by foot. If you come by bus or if you come in the car, they generally don't give you stickers. But if you're arriving on foot, even if your parents have parked a couple blocks away, they're going to share zipper pulls and stickers with you. And so I love the picture next to my bullet points here. Last year we had the mayor, the chair of the school board, out to celebrate Walk to School Day, and we're hoping to replicate that this year as well. A lot of involvement at Centennial. And then again, Sheridan Hills being over in their little corner and doing things sort of their own way. They love zipper pulls, and so they're always asking me, pull zipper pulls from the schools that don't use them and bring them here, because the students love them, and they hand zipper pulls out to every student who arrives by bus or walking. So they really incorporate the busing into that Walk to School Day as well with those zipper pulls. Now our 2 magnet schools, Richfield Dual Language School and Richfield STEM Elementary, provide a couple of different challenges. The STEM Elementary School has a really good student safety patrol program, and that's how we facilitate the Walk to School Day. They hand out the promotional materials, they do all the social media promotions beforehand. So really what I do there is I just call Aaron, the guy who directs that program, a couple weeks before Walk to School Day, and I say, what do you need? He tells me, I get it to him, and then I'm hands off with that. They really run that program well. Dual Language School, which oddly enough is just across the parking lot from STEM Elementary, there are more struggles, there are more challenges. Only 10% of students live in the walk zone. There's been a lot of recent staff turnover. I lost my champion there, the admin assistant, last year. He was our champion for all things walking and biking. And then the principal, who was on the Safe Routes to School committee, was on the hiring committee when I was hired, who loved the work, she retired over the summer. So replacing the admin assistant and the principal, we're really looking at new things this year. What we want to try out is walking bingo and try to get students just out of the classroom and walking around campus and celebrate Walking to School Day with walking bingo at Richfield Dual Language School. I'm going to pause for a moment, just check the chat and make sure there's no questions for me at the moment. Okay. So here in Richfield, we also have 3 secondary education schools. We have Richfield High School, Richfield Middle School, and then we have an alternative high school as well. we really focus our efforts on the high school and the middle school. Richfield High School, we've had the staff in my time in Richfield, but from what I understand, even with the coordinator before, they've really struggled with feeling that the materials for Walk to School Day aren't really age relevant, that they're more geared towards elementary and maybe middle school levels. And so they've really pushed back on me and not wanted to be involved in this day. So I sat with the staff, particularly the principal, over the last couple of months, and we worked out a compromise where this year we're not even going to do Walk to School Day. We're going to do Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. And the way I've been able to find champions in the school to help with that is I was fortunate this summer to teach an onboarding sort of Spartan camp. It's rising ninth graders came for 3 weeks and learned sort of what high school would be like. And I was very fortunate to teach bike education throughout that. And during that time, I met the high school art teacher and we got to talking, and she's going to have her students create the promotional materials for Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day this year. So now I can't, I won't get the complaint that our promotional materials aren't high school age relevant, because high school students will be creating the materials. I'm also working with a couple other teachers I met over the summer and that championed this work in the past to create programming on the day of Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. So I know we're talking successes, but I'm a transparent person and I have not had success at Richfield Middle School. We've struggled so much with staff capacity, finding champions on campus. The assistant principal that I was working with biked to school every day, and he moved to a different school district over the summer. His replacement has no familiarity at all with Safe Routes to School. So we're really struggling to connect with the middle school. We tried to replicate that Ruby Bridges program, and the art teacher already had a curriculum in place and wasn't able to contribute this year. So I have nothing planned. If you have any ideas, please help. I'm on a stranded island over here and would love to be rescued with any suggestions or ideas from my cohorts here in the group. But having said that, if there are any questions about what we're doing in Richfield as far as a district-wide strategy or suggestions, particularly with middle school, feel free to drop those in the chat, reach out to me via email. My email's here on the screen, or give me a call, leave me a voicemail and I'll get back to you. Appreciate any help or suggestions. And again, I'm open for questions right now.
Thanks, Tim. I see a couple of compliments of your work in the chat. I'm wondering if you would be able to talk a little bit about Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day for folks who aren't familiar, and like how your strategy of like engaging high schoolers around Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day as opposed to, I guess I'll just call it regular Walk to School Day, like how those conversations unfolded and how you landed on that as a solution. I'd be really curious.
Yeah, so we landed on that as a solution because when we started the conversation about how the high school principal didn't feel like the promotional materials were relevant to her high school, led into her starting to feel where the entire encouragement activity of a Walk to School Day wasn't relevant. And so then we started to brainstorm, how can we make this relevant? And we all know high schoolers, they're more prone towards activism. They're more interested in the history and the culture around activism. And so I said, hey, maybe we replace Walk to School Day with Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day, and we have we can. This is a chance for students to tell their story about their community, their leaders. For those who aren't aware, Richfield is 71% people of color. The Richfield student body, 71% people of color. We have 24% English language learners. So there's a real opportunity for groups who maybe haven't been able to share their stories with around walking and biking with the Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day in November. So that's sort of how that conversation unfolded. And the intent there is sharing stories and making this relevant to our high school.
Oh, thanks, Tim. And I see Kelly has also put some links in the chat for folks who want to dig in more detail. One other thing that I was curious about was around how you ended up with a student safety patrol that just like runs Walk to School Day start to finish. And if there's any insights you would want to share with the group about like the kind of the dream scenario of like they call you, they tell you what they need, and you check some things off the list. It sounds like things are going really smoothly over there, and they've got like a really clear vision for what they want to do with Walk to School Day.
Full transparency, that happened before I came on board, and it's just one of the many benefits I've been able to enjoy from the work that Will did before me. From my understanding, that student safety patrol actually existed before Will, but Will really helped dial that in and give them the resources they needed for that to be sustainable. So yeah, it's again for me, it's very hands off. Yesterday I showed up and gave them 30 safety whistles, and unless they call or email me again, I won't talk to them again for 2 or 3 weeks as we get into the walk to school day programming, because it's very sustainable, and they really don't need me for much at all over there.
The dream. I see, Tom, do you want, I see you have some thoughts on middle school. Maybe you want to jump on mic and share those?
Sure. Yeah. Tim, thanks for doing this, by the way. I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but if the art path doesn't work, or if Ruby Bridges Day doesn't take off with the middle school, I was wondering if you could frame it like from a climate perspective, if they have like a climate club or an earth club or a recycling group, and try to get students excited about walk to school day just from that framework of reducing, VMT and reducing emissions. So it's just an idea. For what it's worth, it could be another way in potentially.
That's great. I've tried that at the high school level and haven't been able to connect, but I've never thought to do that in middle school. So I'm going to try that approach. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and if anybody else has tried that approach at the middle school level or the high school level and has thoughts to share in the chat, please jump in. I'm gonna do a quick scan, but I'm not seeing any other immediate questions for Tim. But if there are other things that surface for folks, please feel free to put those in the chat. And Tim, I see your email and your phone number are on the slide. So if folks want to reach out directly to Tim, please feel free to do that. Thank you, Tim, for sharing about what's going on in Richfield. And it was really helpful to hear some of your particular context, right? I think it's always the case that everything we do is really specifically designed for our particular context. And so it's helpful for folks to be able to know what might transfer to their own context and what might need to be different. With that, I think I will toss it over to Carma for our second presentation, since we're coming up on the midpoint of our call. Carma is ready to go. Did not even need queuing.
All right. Well, thank you so much for asking us to present today and for hosting these meetings. Safe Kids Grand Forks has a couple of Safe Routes to School programming grants. We are in Northwest Minnesota, and I'm going to show you some maps here in a second to kind of define the community that we're going to be talking about. So we'll jump into a little bit more about where we're at. But Safe Kids Grand Forks, our mission is to reduce the number of preventable injuries and deaths to children under age 19. So all those things that we refer to as accidents that we know are very preventable. And so while we do a lot in the arena of pedestrian and wheeled sports safety, our wheelhouse also includes things like home safety, child passenger safety, sports safety, water, that kind of thing. Many of you may know my colleague. She happens to be on vacation this week. And I attended the Safe Routes to School networking meeting in Minneapolis. And Kelly asked me to present on some of our programming, but I do want to give a shout out to my colleague Tina, who is our pedestrian and wheeled sports safety coordinator, and she just does an amazing job with a lot of our programming. So I'm going to let her enjoy her vacation today, but just want to acknowledge the work that she does. So we are in East Grand Forks. These are the two programs I'm going to talk about take place in East Grand Forks schools. This is what the community looks like. It's about 9,000 people. The Red River separates North Dakota and Minnesota. And so Grand Forks is on the North Dakota side and East Grand Forks is on the Minnesota side. You can see we're located here in Polk County. This down in the bottom right is Polk County. The little red is East Grand Forks. And you can see the outline of it also on the map up above. The city is just under 6 square miles, and the school district is made up of 4 different schools, and they're fairly spread out in this community. You'll get to see that on the map that I'm going to show you next. New Heights is K through 2 second grade. South Point Elementary has 3rd through 5th grade. Central Middle School has 6th through 8th grade, and then the high school is 9th through 12th grade. And on my next slide here, I'm going to show you where those schools are located. So the first dot that you see here, or the star up in the top left, is the elementary school, the K through 2 part of the elementary school. And a few blocks away from that, the star right here, is actually the high school. And then quite a ways away down here on the southeast side of town, you will see the top star is the 3rd through 5th grade, and then the one down here is 6th through 8th grade. And the reason that I show that is because it speaks a little bit to the dynamics there are a lot of kids from the community that are bused in to all of these schools, but it also shows you about how we were able to garner a really kind of cool partnership for one of our activities. So the first one I want to talk about is an event called Fire Up Your Feet Fridays. And International Walk to School Day is coming up, and we'll have Bike to School Day, and we'll have Winter Walk to School Day. These are meant to be programs that last a little bit longer than just the one-day event. While the one-day event is great, we would like to try to encourage a little bit more of that sustainable, let's keep these kids walking. Let's not just do a one-day big hurrah, but let's get them excited on that day and then try to continue that through the month or through the year or things like that. So Fire Up Your Feet Fridays was an activity that we started, and we'll do it at the K through 2nd grade elementary school because they are right a few blocks away from a high school. And so we took that proximity to each of the schools as an opportunity to maybe get some volunteers. So if you take a look at this map, this right here is the New Heights Elementary School. This box here is a church, and you can see there's a big, huge parking lot on this end of the church, which is about 2 blocks away. And then another couple blocks away is the high school that's right here. And as we started planning for this, what was on our mind is this: most of the kids who go to New Heights, this is more, there is some apartment complexes around here and a little bit of a residential area, but it's also a lot of an industrial area. And a lot of the kids coming to this school are coming from this way south part of town here, where it's just too far for them to walk or bike to get there. And so we started saying, here we've got all these kids that are in K through 2nd grade, many of them being bused in. And there really wasn't an opportunity to do a lot of education about how to walk to school or how to use the crosswalks and all that kind of stuff. And yet we then get them into the elementary school that's the 3rd through 6th grade down here. And this is a huge residential area that is now filled in with housing. And now all of a sudden, these kids are within a very, very walkable distance to their school. And yet they've had very little in terms of formal education about pedestrian safety. And so we brainstormed a way in which we could do some of this education with the students. And so what we set up was we reached out to the high school, because the elementary school starts about 20 to 30 minutes earlier than the high school does. And so we thought, gosh, if we could get some anxious volunteers who might be willing to come and be a part of our walking team, our role modeling team, we could use those students to assist. So we weren't trying to pull from people who maybe were trying to get to jobs and stuff like that in the morning. What we found is that the high school was super excited about it. I gave you one example. We partnered with the National Honor Society, the students who were a part of that. We also partnered with some of the sports teams. Their coaches want kids out and in the community and doing good things. And we know the elementary kids look up to, the football players or the soccer players or the cheerleaders who come in uniform or have their jersey on and think they're pretty cool. And so we got those students to be our volunteers for our walking activities. The other thing that we did is anytime you put middle or high school students as the teacher in these events, they take on that they're the teaching person. But what we're also doing is we're reinforcing some pedestrian behaviors. If I were to go in and do an assembly at a high school and say, okay, you guys, we're seeing an increase in the number of students that are being injured or killed because of distracted pedestrians, take your headphones off, your earbuds out, put your cell phone down. They're probably going to go, wah, 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 right? And not listen. But if we can say to them, hey guys, here's the messages we want you to teach to these little kids, we're now imparting that message to them also, but we're doing it in a way that is allowing them to be the expert, and not have us telling them some of the things that are important, but they get to be the ones to teach it to the little kids. So needless to say, the high school was pretty excited about it. We did, speak to the principal about the fact that, while we hope to get the students to their first class right away on time, please don't give them a tardy if they were a couple minutes late, getting into class, if they were the ones that happened to be over helping at the elementary school that morning. But usually that 20 to 30 minute delay in the elementary to the high school start time worked out really well. So the church was another great partnership in that this facility is used primarily on weekends. The parking lots of the church are full on Sunday, but come Monday morning or Tuesday morning or throughout the school week, they're typically not busy. If there were going to be a funeral or something like that there, they usually happen in the later morning or the afternoon, but not at that 7:30 to 8:30 time frame in the morning. And so because we had an empty parking lot, a big facility, a well-known, people knew it, it was a trusted place that was nearby, we decided to set up our drop-off spot in that location. We created a logo for the event called Fire Up Your Feet Friday, and use this in a lot of our marketing or PR for the event, trying to make it fun and kid-friendly. And we did ahead of time a lot of parent communication about, hey, we needed the parents to know that, hey, this is a legitimate thing. If your kids say that the bus dropped them off at a different spot today, don't panic. Or if we are asking the parents who are driving from a long ways away to get the kids there, rather than dropping them off at the school, drop them off in the church parking lot. Like, this was legitimate. And so that parent communication was really important. We sent home flyers in backpacks. A lot of the schools nowadays have texting apps where they can text reminders. It could go in the school newsletter. It could go on posters on the doors or on the kids' classrooms. You can put it on social media or on websites. So be creative in what ways you use to get that information out. But having it be a way that's trusted, that the parents know about, is really important. We did a kickoff with an assembly where we unveiled our flag that we were going to use for the event, and told the kids to be looking for this banner in the parking lot. And then our van and this sign was always in the parking lot. And if for any reason it was pouring rain or something like that, and we decided we weren't going to do it, the parents knew that if the van and the sign were not in the parking lot, that we were not there, and not to drop your kids there that day. So that was kind of our identifying way to do it. We also had all of our volunteers, of course, in safety vests and with name tags on. So here are some of the things. We trained our high school volunteers, and we talk about the importance of role modeling. So our Safe Kids staff stayed in the parking lot and greeted the students and handed out the incentive items. And then we sent the high school students on the route to the school. And at each kind of point along the way, we had a tip sheet or a talking sheet for them about what kind of behaviors or things they should be taking, teaching the students along the path. And we said, role model that. So if you're walking back and you've not got a group of students at that time, we still want you to role model the things that we want you to teach the students, so that they don't catch you doing something wrong. And then we provided them with that tip sheet. The Fire Up Your Feet Fridays also included some incentive items. So we did a couple things. We always had like a non-consumable and a consumable. And so you'll see we had slap wraps or zipper pulls or other reflective items. We had pencils, we've had erasers, we've had punch cards where they could win prizes such as movie tickets or Target gift cards or things to this kids activity center. We also did a food item that they could eat along their walk or at their morning snack time. Some of the ones that worked out well were clementines, bananas, Go-Gurts. We found if you freeze them the night before, you don't need to put them on ice that morning. Just take them out of your freezer, stick them in a cooler, or put them in your car, and they stay nice and cold. Nut-free granola bars, and then the applesauce, the Go-Go squeeze works well because you don't need a spoon or anything like that. I also wanted to say, don't let a little bit of cold keep you from getting out. Here you see us, we pounded our steak into the ground. And here you see us, we had to put it in with a different mechanism because we had frozen ground and snow on the ground. But darn it, we were going to still do Fire Up Your Feet Fridays. And so we said, the only thing that was going to deter us was pouring rain, just because that didn't make a whole lot of sense. So our plan for the rainy days or severe cold was there wasn't going to be a van there. If the van and the sign aren't there, there's no drop off that day. Continue to go to the school. And we did have the buses. We worked with the bus company to get them to drop kids off there as well. So that was very helpful. Here you see some of the pictures of our team as they're out and students gathering and getting ready. We would hand out their incentive items. We'd kind of wave goodbye to mom and dad. It was easy because the parking lot was empty for them to just turn around and pull straight out. They weren't backing in or backing out, so we didn't need to worry about safety in that regard. And then we would send 1 or 2 of our high school volunteers with a group. So the kids weren't standing in the parking lot for long periods of time because we had enough volunteers there to get the students going and on their way. Sometimes it was a group of 2 or 3, sometimes it was a group of 20. One last thing that I want to talk about. So we did our kickoff for that on International Walk to School Day, which obviously is on a Wednesday, but then it was a Fire Up Your Feet Friday theme. And so that's why we did kick it off on International Walk to School Day. But this one we did Wheeling Wednesdays, #1, because it was 2 W's, I guess, and marketing reasons. But the other thing was that it was a continuation of Walker or Wheel to School for International Walk to School Day. This was held at that elementary school that houses the 3rd through 5th graders. So these are kids that were more apt to be riding a bike to school because they were in a walkable, bikeable distance. They were also of that age where it was probably a little bit safer for them to walk. We do have a lot of people who go to the school who live outside of the city limits on the rural farm areas, and we didn't want to exclude them. We wanted them to be able to have a way to participate. And so in our letter, we did send out something saying, maybe consider dropping your students and their bike off here, so that they could ride, obviously not from their farm, but from somewhere where it would be easy to pull in, unload the bike, and have the student ride their bike to the school. We again kicked it off with an assembly. Here you see the kids in the school, and one of our pedestrian and wheeled sports coordinators of the past went riding in on her bike and into the gym, and the kids thought that was pretty cool, and that was kind of how we did our launch there. And really, this is a little bit different in that really the only place that you need your volunteers are at your bike racks. And so we were sometimes there, sometimes it was the school nurse, the principal, the gym teachers, a PTO member, a high school or a middle student. If you remember this image, the middle school was right just half a block away from the elementary school. So they sometimes served as volunteers, Safe Kids members, or our police department. So what did they do? The volunteers do. They assisted with getting bikes into the rack. We found that we needed way more bike racks. Oh my gosh, our bike racks were overflowing. Down here in the bottom one, you'll see we were having to lock them up to light poles in the parking lot because the bike rack was so full. So having those adult volunteers there to help with, really getting the bikes as close together in the rack as you can, or coming up with alternative ways to lock them up was helpful. We had a punch card. So they got a card. I'll show you that next. And they would punch those. They handed out the incentive items, which again were those things that we showed on the Fire Up Your Feet Fridays. We told the kids that in order to get a punch, they had to ride their bike, but they also had to have a helmet on. And so if they came with the helmet and it was sitting a little kitty wampus or it wasn't the right fit, we would refit it or resize it or help them, show them how to get it on right. We also had free helmets there that we distributed to kids that were in need. And so those are some of the things that our volunteers were doing at the bike rack. This is what the card looked like. We did Bike to School Day was our launch, and then the subsequent Wheeling Wednesdays, which the school year ended the end of May, but this is what that looked like. And then these are just some images of the students who are showing up. Some of them rode with adults, some of them came in big groups, some of them came alone. It was just really interesting to see how many students engaged in this activity. Here's where you can get some more information from Safe Kids Grand Forks. I would encourage you, if you haven't, go on, like our newsletter. We love to have stuff in there from Minnesota Safe Routes to School, and try to include stuff on that every newsletter that we do. And my contact information is as follows. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them for you.
Thanks, Karma. Wow, you packed a lot of information into a short period of time. I feel like we could have heard more detail on any one of those things, but I do see some compliments in the chat, folks that are excited about the intergenerational approach of working with the high school students and the elementary school students. And at least one question in the chat. And I have a couple questions. I think I'll start off with, like, we are getting to see these Wheeling Wednesdays and Fire Free Fridays as like fully formed concepts that have been implemented for a time. Could you just talk a little bit about, like, how was it coming up with the concepts and getting to a point where you're like, yep, this is smooth now, right? I assume it took a number of years to to get everything sort of gelling and running smoothly and build all the relationships with the church, with the like build between the elementary school and the high school, to get to the point where things are like, you know, smooth sailing, right? For folks who are like maybe thinking about this for the first time, where do we start? What is a good level of ambition that feels kind of like realistic?
Yeah, I mean, truth be told, Safe Kids Grand Forks has been operational for 32 years. And so we know our communities well. We do a lot of community events. So we have a lot of those relationships already built. And so that's the benefit that we have, is that we don't have to start things from scratch usually. But that being said, I think the biggest thing is, pitching the idea, letting the school, the high school, or the church have some input. If they see that what you're planning, maybe they want to tweak it a little bit, and helping them feel a part of the idea generation. And so that they are a partner in it. I think that we have a really mutual benefit in that I think we have a really good community feel. And so we are really, in this part of the state, really all about helping each other out. And if we have resources that we can share with one another, let's do that. There was no issue with the church whatsoever. And we did not have to sign any liability waivers. The pastor was super great about it. And he just said, let us know what you need, and we'll make sure that we've got the area uncovered from snow if we need to, but let us know what you need. He was all gung-ho about it. So, that being said, if it were maybe a busy business where, you needed them to cordon off an area, or there was a lot of traffic coming in and out of it, there might be some more concerns where you would need to think about putting up some barriers or some cones, or think a little bit more about liability. That church parking lot was absolutely bare empty at 7:30 in the morning on a Friday. So there really just were not issues with that much at all. When it comes to the Wheeling Wednesdays, when we did the remote drop-off site, at first, when we first started, it was actually an undeveloped lot in the city. And we just worked with the police department and the city mayor to ask about using that lot, and talk to the principal about, would you be comfortable with, having this be the spot? And yep, they absolutely were. It was a great area where cars could go in and turn around. It was, probably 4 blocks away from the school. As the city builds and you now have stuff on those lots, certainly you don't want to just pull a bus in, or have people pulling their cars in and dropping kids off at a space that belongs to somebody else, or is a business. So just making that ask, and we found everybody to be very open about helping us out.
Awesome. I think you have, in the course of that response, answered Sarah's question. So Sarah asked in the chat about whether there were any liability concerns with the church offering their space, or any sort of formal agreements between the schools and the church to use that space. And it sounds like that wasn't as much a part of your implementation.
Yeah, no, not at all. And sometimes I think we let good ideas get hung up because we worry too much about the liability when in fact it's more worry than it is actuality. And so and full disclosure, I'm married to an attorney, so I get liability and all that, but I don't I'm one of those where we don't let a good idea or the betterment of things get in the way of liability, get in the way of it. So
yeah, I mean, I've you know, people are, it's icy, it's Minnesota winter, right? When you're doing things through the winter, that's a real concern. And also people walk in the winter. We get out there and we do it. So
yep, absolutely.
yeah. Kelly, did you had maybe a note to add on this that I just want to make sure is in the recording for folks who are watching this after the fact?
Sure. So some of these kind of bus stop and walks and other activities that schools have done elsewhere, they will use an existing MOU they might have with a nearby church or facility anytime there's maybe like, you know, in their emergency action plans, if there's a water main break or a gas leak or something where they need to evacuate the school, they have a nearby place they go to. So it's usually within walking distance, which would make it a good place, and their MOU is there. It's just a first place to look at, I guess.
Great idea.
This isn't, I don't know exactly what the question that I have buried in here is, but I just want to like observe, I think this is such a great example of like inventorying your resources and doing some creative thinking with them, right? Like a church parking lot might not be the first thing that people think of as like a resource for a walk to school day activity. And it's also like for people who are going to the church, right, when they go, it's a busy time, right? So they're maybe not thinking about it as a resource either. And so just like, it really appreciate the way that you like high schoolers are a resource in a particular way, elementary schoolers are a resource in a particular way, and you just like pulled them together really, really creatively to come up with a solution that like worked really well, and again was really context specific. I really love the way you highlighted like our elementary schoolers might not be able to walk right now, but we're sending them off to middle school where they could walk without the setup for success, right? Like how do we solve that problem? Maybe we can't solve this other problem because our school site isn't going to move, but we can get folks ready for what's coming up. So I just thought that was really cool, and appreciate the work that you and many others have done to make that happen.
Well, thank you. And, you know, that's a lot of what our program does is think outside the box of creative ways to tackle it. And we actually use churches a lot because in our communities, we have a lot of residential schools. And there are a lot of churches around. And if you think about it, they're used at opposite times of the day. You know, our high school in Grand Forks, their overflow parking is the church parking lot. Vice versa, the church's overflow parking on Sunday is the school lot. And so, you know, if you think about that, they're really used and tapped into at different days of the week and times of the year. And so there's a lot of creative ways to solve things if you just think a little bit differently. And, you know, I always love that, you know, you're looking for volunteers. Who needs volunteer hours? High school students, middle schoolers, athletes, college students, people applying for scholarships, people that are a part of service clubs. You know, we do a Safety on Wheels program where we do head injury presentations and bike helmet distributions every spring and every fall to about 50, probably 60 different schools within our region. And we partner with a service club that does the rodeo part. And so there are so many great ways to tap into volunteers. And that could be a whole nother presentation sometime.
I'll make a note.
Oh, Tina will be back from vacation soon.
But I appreciate the abundance mindset, right? Like the community has a lot of resources. There are folks out there who are ready and willing and would be excited to help. And it's really about how do we make those connections, right, between things that like people would care about and would be excited to tap into, but maybe aren't seeing from where they are right now. So very cool. Thank you. I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat, and we're coming up on 11 o'clock. So I think I'm going to thank Carma and Tim for their great presentations today, and folks for their questions, and move us towards closing out for the day. We do not want to run late on the first week of school. Next up for the Minnesota Safe Routes to School Network calls, we're going to be hearing about grants and more grants from all our friends at MNDOT next month. So if you want to deep dive with us into grants land, that'll be a really fun and exciting call. A note that our Safe Routes to School Network survey that we do every year is probably going to be coming out next month. So keep an eye out for that in your inbox. That helps us make sure that we're planning calls with topics that are really stuff that folks want to hear about, that we can schedule the calls on a day and a time that work for folks, and that we're understanding what you all are taking away and how to help use that to inform the meetup when we plan the meetup. So we'll see you in October for our next network call. Dates are on here for November and December, and then we'll just give you an early reminder that because we do the survey and determine the date time of the call and whether any changes are needed based on the results, there is not a call scheduled in January. So it'll be, for many of you, you might be on winter break or just coming back from winter break. So we won't have a call in January, but we will release the new schedule for the 2025 year for these calls in January. Thank you all so much for being here. I wish you all the best on the first week of school. I really enjoyed seeing everybody's favorite things about back to school season in the chat. Lots of folks really love fall colors, just fall vibes, fall food, everything about fall. We are a very pro fall group. So I appreciate getting to celebrate that with you, and enjoy the first week back to school. Take care, everybody.